Hello everyone, I'm Triple Nick, and welcome back to my annual tradition where I break down every single platinum I earned throughout the year. I've been on this platinum hunting journey ever since I got my PS5 back in January of 2021, and this is my 5th annual recap video. As always, I'll be giving a brief overview of each game and going over the most noteworthy trophies for each game. This year, I managed to platinum 22 different games. Some were definitely better than others, and the difficulty ranged from a walk in the park to an absolute nightmare. Stick around until the end of the video because I'll also be giving some honorable mentions to games I enjoyed playing this year but didn't quite get the platinum for them. I'll also be handing out some personal awards to my favorite and least favorite platinums of the bunch. If you're new to the channel, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more platinum trophy content. That is, if I ever decide to release anything other than these annual roundups. Please enjoy the video. First platinum of 2025 belongs to Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, developed by Rocksteady Studios. This is their controversial follow-up to the Arkham trilogy, and let me tell you, this game was incredibly divisive. It launched as a live service title that required an always online connection, but thankfully Rocksteady patched in an offline mode just before the year started, so you can finally play it safely without worrying about servers shutting down. I only played this thanks to it coming to PS Plus in January, not even a full year after launch. In the game, you play as 4 different characters: Harley Quinn, King Shark, Captain Boomerang, and Deadshot. They all use guns, which is certainly an odd choice considering their backgrounds, but they at least specialize in different weapon types. The best part is how they traverse the map. Most of them use stolen Justice League tech, like Harley using a bat drone or Boomerang using a Speed Force gauntlet, making movement feel distinct for each one. To obtain the platinum, you have to beat the main story and then tackle the Riddler challenges, which means getting 3 stars in all 13 AR challenges, solving 21 riddles, and finding 40 Riddler trophies. Then comes the grind. You need to get every character to max level individually, and then grind your overall squad level to 50. You also have to complete 100 support squad contracts. These are basically just random combat objectives. And finally, reach mastery level 20 in the endgame incursion missions. It's all very repetitive and grindy, but honestly, it could have been much worse. Next up is the one game I always come back to, the one that keeps delivering new updates and improvements ever since it was released back in 2016. Of course, I'm talking about No Man's Sky. I've platinumed the PS4 version before, but this year I tackled the PS5 version. No Man's Sky is a space exploration survival game developed by Hello Games. You take control of an unnamed traveler who awakens on a random planet in an 18 quintillion planet universe. The main focus is to build bases, explore, make money, and follow the various storylines added via updates. It's a very chill game, often labeled as the biggest redemption arc in gaming history. The platinum is super straightforward, you just have to max out the standard milestones. These are: discover every fauna on a planet 10 different times, warp 75 times, obtain 2 million units, walk 100,000 steps, learn 150 words, talk to 80 different aliens, destroy 80 ships, and survive for 32 in-game days on an extreme planet. That last one takes the longest if you play naturally. but the way I got it was just hide in a hole on an extreme planet, set down my controller, and let it idle while checking back periodically to make sure the time was counting. Next is Pac-Man World Re-Pac, a platformer developed by Now Production. The game is a remake of Pac-Man World, releasing in 2022, 23 years after the original. In it, you take control of Pac-Man, who must rescue his family members after they were kidnapped by the classic ghosts, Blinky, Pinky, Inky, and Clyde. They work for the villain Pac-Man, who basically just wants to steal Pac-Man's identity. The platinum is pretty simple to obtain. You must complete the story, rescue all family members, collect all Pac-Man letters, complete all bonus levels, and finish all the maze stages. There are also several combat-related trophies where you need to defeat enemies using different abilities. However, there is one more trophy I need to mention, and it's the toughest one: Retro Gamer. For this, you have to play the original Pac-Man arcade game included in the hub and clear round 9. This trophy is the sole reason why this platinum is challenging. Thankfully, there are certain routes you can take in each level that ensure a ghost won't get you. At first, I tried following a drawn route guide, but that was hard to follow in real time, so here's what I finally did. I watched a video of someone completing each level and then just copied their exact movements as best I could. But it still wasn't easy. Messing up one button press or missing the timing by a fraction of a second can screw up the whole level. What saved me was the ability to pause, something the OG arcade game didn't have. It allowed me to pause, watch a bit of the video to see what to do next, and then execute. Doing that over and over again certainly made it much more doable. This next game is the follow-up to the Game of the Year winner, It Takes Two. Split Fiction is a co-op action-adventure game developed by Hazelight Studios. The game follows two writers, Mio and Zoe. Mio writes about sci-fi, while Zoe writes about fantasy. They get invited by a company to test a device that simulates their stories. But things go wrong, and long story short, they are forced into each other's worlds where they must work together to escape. The game features different levels where it flips between sci-fi and fantasy settings, and each level has a unique abilities associated with each of them. These mechanics really keep the game interesting and are always fun to use. Now onto the platinum. It's simple for the most part, consisting of 4 main steps. Complete the story, complete all 12 side stories, sit on 6 different benches throughout the game, and complete several miscellaneous tasks in different levels. The hardest trophy was definitely Cold Potato. For this one, you have to complete a game show segment without the bomb exploding. Basically, you have to run through small obstacle courses while constantly throwing a bomb back and forth to your partner to reset its timer. If you fail once, you have to start the whole section over again. It took a few tries, so it's no walk in the park, but I was eventually able to get it. Also, shout out to my brother Kyle for being player number 2 in this game. Assassin's Creed Shadows, developed by Ubisoft Quebec, is an action RPG and the 14th game in the main series. It's set in feudal Japan, and follows two playable characters. First is Nawe, a shinobi seeking revenge for the ones who killed her father, and second is Yasuke, a samurai from Africa who is based on a real historical figure. Yasuke's inclusion caused a lot of controversy because people felt he was never a real samurai, and that it felt wrong to play a non-Japanese lead in a game about Japan. Honestly, I understand where they're coming from, but I also feel the whole thing was blown way out of proportion. If you look at past AC games, a lot of real historical people show up in ways that obviously didn't happen in real life. Assassin's Creed is fake history. It always has been, and some people just forget that fact. Anyway, onto the Platinum. This one is a little more forgiving compared to the previous huge entry, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. You must complete the story, obviously. Second, there are tons of trophies tied to side quests, which are needed to upgrade your characters, meet new allies, and unlock buildings for your hideout. Since this is a Ubisoft game, of course there are collectibles. I only had trouble with one type though, the legendary Sumi-A paintings. These are tied to the current season in the game. When I first played, I didn't follow a trophy guide until after I finished the story, and I didn't know I needed to collect certain paintings during specific seasons. So I had to do a lot of waiting for the seasons to cycle back around before I could finally grab them. Aside from that, the rest of the trophies are just some simple combat and miscellaneous trophies. The next platinum I earned came from the remastered version of The Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion, originally developed by Bethesda Game Studios and remastered by Virtuos 19 years later. Oblivion is an action RPG taking place in Cyrodiil. You take control of a character referred to as a hero of Kvatch. After the Emperor is assassinated by a cult, gates open up across Cyrodiil that lead to a demonic realm called Oblivion. The main character's goal is to find and help the Emperor's illegitimate son seal the gates to stop the invasion. Now, I really need to talk about the performance of this game. It runs terribly, for lack of a better word, on any system you play it on. It's the worst performance I've seen from a game in years. All of the bugs from the original game are still there, the FPS is super choppy, especially when you're riding a horse, and it's simply unacceptable in this day and age. To be honest, everything else about the game doesn't hold up that well 19 years later either. I found myself getting incredibly bored pretty quickly while playing it. Thankfully though, the trophies are some of the most straightforward of any game I've played this year. Basically, there are three main steps. Complete the main quest line, complete all the faction quest lines, and complete the arena quest line. There are DLC trophies that came with the release, but those aren't needed to unlock the Platinum. Days Gone Remastered is, you guessed it, the 2025 remaster of the open-world zombie game Days Gone, originally released in 2019. Both the original and the remaster were developed by Bend Studio. There was a lot of criticism when this was announced, mainly about the game not being old enough to warrant a remaster, which is fair, it's only been 6 years. However, it was only a $10 upgrade for existing owners, and it launched at a reasonable $50 for everyone else, which seems pretty fair to me. In the game, you take control of Deacon St. John, a biker surviving in the zombie apocalypse. Your main mode of transportation is your motorcycle, and in my opinion, it's the most fun part of the game. You can customize it, upgrade it, and you have to keep it maintained by repairing it and managing your fuel. The combat is fine, I guess. It's pretty standard stuff. The story isn't groundbreaking either, but it gets the job done. To get the platinum, you have to complete the main story, finish side activities, collect 75% of all collectibles, upgrade 45 skills, and max out your chests with 3 different camps. There is one specific trophy I need to highlight. You've got red on you. For this, you need to loot 541 items from human corpses. That is a massive number. So to save yourself a huge grind later, make sure you loot every single human you kill right from the start of the game. If you do that consistently, the plat will be much less grindy to obtain. The next platinum of the year belongs to Sayonara Wild Hearts, a rhythm action game developed by Simogo. I've heard nothing but good things about this game ever since it was originally released in 2019. The game got a re-release on PS5 this year and was also added to the PS Plus extra catalog. It's been on my backlog for years, so I figured now would be a good time to finally play it. I've actually played several of Simogo's games in the past, specifically on my iPod Touch back when those things were still around. Titles like Yearwalk, Device 6, and The Sailor's Dream. In this game, you take control of a young woman who experiences a massive heartbreak and is transported to an alternate dimension. There, she transforms into the Fool, based on the tarot card. She travels through several levels with a really catchy pop album playing in the background, fighting different tarot-themed gangs and enemies to restore balance. Now, onto the platinum. Uniquely, every single trophy in the game revolves around zodiac riddles. These are unlocked after finishing the story, and instead of telling you what to do, they just give you a poetic clue. For example, one of the hardest ones has got to be the Capricorn A riddle, which simply reads, "I am the perfect emperor." It sounds vague, but what it actually demands is that you play the level Forest Ghost and hit every single button prompt with a perfect rating. If you get even one good or okay, you fail. It took a lot of practice, but once you solve every riddle in the game, the platinum is yours. Next is Celeste, a difficult platformer developed by Maddie Makes Games. They're now known as Extremely OK Games. I've played this game several years ago, but I never went for the Platinum Trophy. I saw it in my library one day and said to myself, hey, I can't believe I never tried platinuming this. I'm gonna attempt it. So anyway, in the game, you play as a redhead named Madeline, and her goal is to reach the summit of Mount Celeste. During the journey, you'll meet interesting characters, crazy enemies, and most of all, face some of the hardest platforming you'll ever do in a video game. It's an emotional journey that hits on topics like anxiety and internal conflict. The platinum is straightforward, but that doesn't mean it's easy. You need to finish the story, collect 175 strawberries, and find every crystal heart. But that is only the first step, and the easiest. It only gets much harder from there. Next are the B-side levels, which are harder remixes of the regular chapters, and finally, the C-side levels. These are very short but extremely challenging platforming gauntlets. If this becomes too challenging for you, you can cheat. There is an assist mode, which can give you an invincibility, slow motion, and an unlimited amount of air dashes, taking the difficulty down from a 9 out of 10 to about a 2. I will admit, I did every level legitimately, except for the final C-side level, where I did use assist mode. Cause well, I was losing my mind. Honestly, when it comes to using tools to help you with platinums, I don't really care. If the developer gives you a cheat to help you get it, feel free to use it. My only problem is when people use them and then turn around and lie, claiming they didn't. Next, we're taking a pretty drastic jump in genre from Celeste. This next platinum is for Doom: The Dark Ages, a first-person shooter developed by id Software. You take control of the Slayer during his early years with the Night Sentinels, long before the events of the 2016 reboot. The story is, well, honestly, it wasn't very interesting. It actually ruined the flow of the game for me, and I found it hard to follow. Doom is just one of those games where your brain goes, hey, here's some weapons, here's some enemies, go nuts. The combat is a lot more grounded than the previous game, Doom Eternal. It focuses on the Slayer being more of a tank this time around. There's a new shield saw that can parry attacks, be thrown to cut down enemies, and is even used to solve puzzles in some levels. The combat is alright, but I personally prefer the run and gun style of the previous games. Now, the platinum is a pretty simple 100% everything list. Finish the story, get all the collectibles, upgrade everything, and complete all mission and weapon challenges. I played this game at launch back in May, and I would have gotten the platinum then, but the Berserker trophy was bugged. It just refused to pop. It stayed broken for over a month until it was finally fixed in early July. All I had to do was open the game, and the trophy instantly popped, earning me the platinum fashionably late. There once was a game about Norman Reedus and his amazing fetus. I threw jars of pee at a ghost in the rain, and I wondered if Hideo Kojima had gone insane. That little poem can mean only one thing. The next game I platinum in 2025 was Death Stranding 2 On the Beach, developed by Kojima Productions. You play as Sam Porter Bridges, portrayed by Norman Reedus. After connecting America to the chiral network in the first game, this time around, he heads to Mexico and then Australia. The game is just as crazy and wild as the previous one, full of interesting characters and a story that is, well, it's just difficult to understand. The gameplay is more of the same. The main goal is to complete deliveries while overcoming the terrain, enemies, and monsters. However, combat has been expanded and is much more of a focus here compared to the stealth approach from the first game. The sheer amount of equipment and weapons is actually overwhelming. It's so extensive, I don't think I even touched half of it. Now, for the platinum. There are a ton of easy miscellaneous trophies that aren't worth mentioning, so let's focus on the big hurdles. First of all, you need to complete the story and connect every facility to the chiral network. After the credits roll, the real grind begins, getting every single facility to 5 stars. This takes a massive amount of time, just going back and forth between locations. It definitely gets boring at times. There's also a trophy called Season Porter, where you need to complete 10 of each type of standard delivery. I had to go out of my way for that one. Finally, there are trophies for completing storylines for specific facilities, but you'll naturally hit those while you're grounding out the 5-star ratings. next is my most played game of the year, MLB The Show 25, developed by San Diego Studio. This is the game I play when I just want to chill out. I pretty much exclusively play the Road to the Show mode, which is basically the career mode of the game. Honestly, it's just a baseball game. There isn't much more else to say about it mechanics-wise. But when it comes to the platinum, there are some trophies that seem hard, but you can easily set them up to be super easy. For example, there is a trophy where you need to win the World Series. Sounds tough, right? Well, you can cheese it. You just set every team in the league as a user-controlled team. Then you simulate the season all the way to the World Series, and then when you see which team is about to win, you just stop simulating, take control of that team, play the final game, and boom, you're a World Series champion. There are a few other trophies you can cheese like that, but I'll just focus on the ones you actually have to work for. First, there is the MLB Historian 25 trophy, where you need to complete 3 Negro League storylines. Then there is the one that will take the longest, first of many. For this, you need to get your first MLB hit or strikeout in Road to the Show. It sounds simple, but it is time consuming, because you don't start in the majors. You have to grind through high school, college, and the entire minor league system just to get called up to the big leagues to even attempt it. The next game on the list is Sword of the Sea, an adventure game developed by Giant Squid. If that name sounds familiar, it's because these guys previously developed Abzu and The Pathless, both games I have played and finished. Plus, the game's director was the art director on Journey, and you can definitely feel that DNA in there. In Sword of the Sea, you take control of a wraith who journeys across a desert to bring life back to it. The wraith has a unique way of getting around, a sword that functions like a skateboard, snowboard, and hoverboard all in one. It is an incredibly fun way to travel, letting you pull off tricks while you explore. Your goal is to collect ocean seeds, which bring water back to the desert and allow marine life to flourish. Now, technically the platinum only requires 2 playthroughs, but I did it in 3 because I wanted to play my first run blind. But if you want to be efficient, here's how you do it in 2. On your first playthrough, complete the game while following a guide to get every collectible and complete all the trick attack areas. Once the credits roll, use chapter select to mop up any remaining miscellaneous trophies. The only one that might give you trouble here is Untouchable, which requires you to defeat the final boss without taking a single hit. For your second playthrough, you are going to combine the 2 hardest challenges, the speedrun and the high score. You need to beat the game in less than 2 hours while also scoring over 1 million points. It sounds intimidating, but once you complete the game the first time, it's easy to remember the routes, so it's not too bad. The next platinum of the year belongs to Ghost of Yōtei, the long-awaited sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, developed by Sucker Punch Productions. You play as Atsu, a woman seeking revenge against the ones who killed her family. They are known as the Yōtei 6, a group of ruthless warlords. On your journey, you'll travel to different areas of Ezo, which is modern-day Hokkaido, and meet new allies to help you on your quest. The game introduces a ton of new weapons to the formula, including an Odachi, a Kasuragama, a Yari, and various firearms. The combat is fun, the art style is beautiful as always, and while the story isn't exactly groundbreaking, it's still a solid revenge tale. The Platinum follows the same standard format that first-party PlayStation studios have been using for years. Basically, 100% completion with very little BS. You need to complete the story, finish all side quests, complete every bounty, gather most of the collectibles, complete all locations, and finish up with some miscellaneous cleanup. Okay, so next is Borderlands 4. It's a first-person looter-shooter developed by Gearbox Software. In the game, you take control of one of 4 Vault Hunters: Vex, Rafa, Aman, or Harlow, each with their own special abilities and skill trees. The story takes place on the planet Kairos, which is ruled by a dictator called the Timekeeper. He enslaves the population by implanting mind control devices called bolts into their spines. You do the same thing as previous games. Collect mountains of loot, complete quests, and fight massive waves of bosses and enemies. The gameplay feels like an evolution of Borderlands 3, which was definitely my favorite part. The plot is fine, and honestly, I'm just glad they ditched the cringe humor that plagued the last game. Now for the Platinum. I have a lot to say about this, so listen up. There are an insane amount of steps to get this done. First, you need to finish the story. Then you have all the primordial vaults to complete, which are all basically the same. Clear an area, fight a boss, repeat. Then there are the activities, more clearing areas and bosses. Then you have all 98 side missions, which is just a staggering amount of content to go through. You need to discover every map location, that isn't too bad, and then there are 80 contracts, which are quick one objective missions. After the story, you have to hit Ultimate Vault Hunter level 5. This is where the frustration sets in. You have to defeat the same bosses and replay missions, but the enemies are just spongier. There are also gear challenges for specific kill types with certain weapons, and then finally, the most grindy trophy in the game, Catch a Ride. To unlock this, you need every vehicle, which sounds easy until you realize the last 4 are tied to reaching level 50 with every single character class. This took me over a week of playing every day. I just farmed vile bounties over and over because it was the fastest way to level up, even though it meant killing more and more spongy enemies. After about 110 hours of all of that, I finally earned the Platinum. While I was grinding through Borderlands 4, I needed something to really cleanse my palate and keep my brain from turning into jelly. So, I played a game that's all about silly fun, Goat Simulator 3, developed by Coffee Stain North. It's a sandbox game, which means you just drop in and go nuts. This was a PS Plus monthly game for October, and had been sitting in the very back of my backlog since it first came out in 2022. In the game, you play as a goat named Pilgor, who is basically a giant troll. You can mess with people all over the map, headbutt them, lick them, and drag them wherever you want. Pilgor can even drive vehicles, which is a terrifying thought, to say the least. There are small events scattered around the map, which act as ridiculous mini-quests. While there isn't much of a story, there is a final boss fight that unlocks once you level up your goat castle to the max. The Platinum is packed with trophies that require you to do random, chaotic activities, so I'll just hit the noteworthy ones. You need to finish that final boss fight, complete all the instincts, which are just small gameplay challenges, and jump off every stunt ramp in the game. Then you have the most grindy trophy, Try Hard 2, where you have to collect all 200 trinkets hidden across the map. It's a lot of hunting, but the game was fun enough that it never actually got boring. Next up is a game I never would have predicted I would platinum. New Monopoly is a digital board game developed by Engine Software. The goal is the same as it's always been. Build houses and hotels on your properties, wait for other players to land on them, and take all their money. I'm sure most of you know how Monopoly works by now, so I'll just move on to the trophies. There are plenty of easy ones that aren't really worth mentioning, and many of the hard trophies become a joke once you realize you could just control every player in the game yourself. One trophy worth mentioning is Subsidized Monopolist, where you need to collect $800 from free parking. The catch is that you have to be the one to land on it with your main profile. The last one I want to mention is Globetrotter, which requires you to land on every single space on the board with your main profile. Fun fact, for this trophy, I actually used ChatGPT to create an interactive Monopoly board where I can mark off each space as I landed on it. It made it so much easier to keep track of exactly what I still needed to hit. This next one was a little controversial, as many felt the game wasn't old enough to warrant a full remake, but here we are. It's the Until Dawn remake, developed by Ballistic Moon 9 years after the original. For this version, new features included an expanded backstory, additional collectibles called Hunger Totems, and a brand new ending. They also reworked the cinematography, switching to an over-the-shoulder camera for many scenes. Personally, I still prefer the original game's fixed camera angles. There was something about those cinematic views that made this experience feel more thrilling, spooky, and intense. For those who don't know, Until Dawn is an interactive horror game. It revolves around a group of 8 friends who return to Blackwood Mountain a year after a tragic accident involving 2 of their friends. To get the platinum, you have to experience almost every possible outcome. You'll need one run where everyone survives, another where everyone dies, and even a specific run where only certain characters make it out. On top of that, you need to track down every collectible, including the new totems that flesh out the backstory. The rest of the list is just miscellaneous cleanup for making specific and often terrible choices during the game's tensest moments. This next game is easily the most stylish one I played all year. It's called Skate Story, a skateboarding adventure developed by Sam Eng. It launched as a day 1 title on the PS Plus Extra catalog, which instantly put it on my radar. In the game, you take control of a demon made of glass who makes a deal with the devil. Skate to the moon and swallow it to gain your freedom. The gameplay revolves around doing tricks and combos to navigate the world. Doing tricks builds up power, and you use that momentum to deal damage to enemies and bosses. The soundtrack slaps incredibly hard too. It was done by a band called Blood Cultures, and this game actually got me into their music quite a bit. As for the platinum, you obviously need to complete the story first. Then you have the collectibles. Get 18 skate decks and placing 100 stickers on your board. You also need to land a combo of at least 99,999. I actually decided to knock this out randomly during my playthrough, but it turns out I didn't even need to try. I would have hit that number naturally anyway while going for the Over Several Eternities trophy. That trophy requires you to perform 10,000 total tricks. There's definitely not enough content in the story to reach that number, so after I beat the game, I spent a few hours just repeating tricks to finish the grind. The last noteworthy trophy is You Must Skate, which requires you to shatter your glass body 500 times while skating. The final stretch of this platinum was a bit of a test of patience, but the style kept me hooked. This next one is a platinum I should have gotten 3 years ago, but for some reason I didn't even attempt it at the time. The game is Heavenly Bodies, a physics-based puzzle game developed by 2 Point Interactive. I originally played it back in November of 2022 when it was a monthly PS Plus game, but I finally went back to it 3 years later after digging through my library. In the game, you take control of an unnamed cosmonaut in the 1970s. The main hook is that it's essentially a rage game. The controls are designed to test your patience. If you make a single wrong movement with your limbs, you'll find yourself floating helplessly into the void or drifting away from your objective. Your cosmonaut goes through several unique levels, each requiring you to complete different manual labors in 0G. While you could technically get the platinum in one playthrough, I did it in 2. You need to complete every level using Newtonian controls, which are designed to realistically follow the laws of motion, meaning every push or pull has an equal and opposite reaction. On top of that, you have to complete every optional challenge and find the hidden collectible in each level. Throw in a few easy miscellaneous trophies, and you have a platinum that's relatively quick, but definitely a little rage-inducing. Next up, I return to a legendary series to tackle the latest entry, Cat Quest III, an action RPG developed by the Gentle Bros. You play as the Seeker, a cat on a pirate quest to find the fabled North Star. Legend says that whoever finds it first will be granted incredible power. The game retains the signature look of the series, where the world is designed to look like a giant interactive map. It also introduces a revamped combat system that lets you swap between melee weapons, firearms, and magic wands on the fly. This makes the gameplay feel much faster and provides way more variety than the previous titles. Just like its predecessors, the platinum is pretty straightforward. You need to complete the story, collect 40 pieces of equipment, and open 80 treasure chests. You also have to finish all the side quest lines, find every hidden item, hunt down all the bounties, learn all 10 spells, and solve every set of puzzle stones. While that might sound like a long checklist, the map is compact and easy to navigate, making the whole process feel like a breeze. It only took me about 8 hours to secure the platinum. My final platinum of the year ended with a game considered to be one of the greatest of the last decade, and the winner of Game of the Year at the Game Awards. That game is, of course, Clair Obscur Expedition 33, a turn-based RPG developed by Sandfall Interactive. The story revolves around a group of expeditioners on a desperate quest to kill the Paintress. Every year, she wakes up and paints a specific number on a monolith. This time, she is about to paint the number 33. This means that anyone who is 33 years old will gamage, meaning they are erased from existence instantly. The game features turn-based combat with a heavy reliance on a real-time parry and dodge system, something you don't see in the genre very often. It is hands down the best turn-based game I've ever played, even if I haven't played many of them. The soundtrack is also widely considered one of the greatest of all time, and it's easy to see why. It is beautifully unique. As for the platinum, it's a bit on the longer side, but not terribly difficult. You need to finish the story, grab every collectible, max out your relationship with every character, and grind a party member to level 99. There are also specific combat trophies and a gauntlet of optional bosses. The one boss you'll almost certainly have trouble with is Simon. He can easily wreck your team and remove members from the party before you even have a chance to revive them. However, you can cheese it by setting up a specific one-shot build that lets you kill him through both phases without him ever taking a single turn. There are a few games I played this year that I didn't earn a platinum in, but I still want to give them a shout out. First up is Metaphor ReFantazio, a turn-based JRPG from Atlus, the legendary developers behind the Persona series. This game is essentially Persona, but transported into a high fantasy medieval setting. It was actually the first Atlus game I've ever played, and it left such a huge impression on me that I'm determined to play Persona 5 Royal sometime in 2026. That game has been going on sale for about like $18 every month on the PS Store, and I'm sure I can find a physical copy for around the same price, so I'm definitely thinking about playing it this year. Next, I have to talk about Blueprints. This is an incredible indie title that was released earlier this year, and it's a fascinating mix of a roguelike, a strategy game, and a deep puzzler. You explore a massive manor that you actually expand by drafting rooms as you go. While there's some heavy RNG involved, by the late game, you gain tools to start influencing those draws. It's a very slow-paced experience, but the house is so packed with layers of mystery that I'm convinced there are still secrets in there that haven't been discovered yet. If you love solving complex puzzles, you have to try this one. Finally, there's Satisfactory. This is a factory simulation game where you build massive automated production lines across a beautiful alien planet. It is dangerously addictive. You really feel like you're in total control of the planet's resources. I picked it up on sale in early November and basically did nothing else for an entire week. I really need to get back into it pretty soon. So I'm thinking by the time I release this video, or perhaps after it, I'll go back and play it. Alright, it's time for the awards. I have 5 different awards to give out to the games I platinumed during the year. These are Best Platinum for New Hunters, Underrated Platinum, Hardest Platinum, Worst Platinum, and of course, the Best Platinum of the Year. These are all my personal picks, so if you happen to disagree, well, tough luck, I guess. Here we go. The award for the Best Platinum for New Hunters goes to Sayonara Wild Hearts. It's a simple, high-energy platinum that requires just enough effort to be rewarding. The trophies are all tied to cryptic riddles, but you don't necessarily have to solve them yourself since the answers are all online. Some of the requirements are a bit challenging, but the game is very short, which makes the hunt feel like a breeze. The award for the most underrated platinum goes to Sword of the Sea. This game is incredible and deserves way more love. Even though its launch on PS Plus gave it some exposure, I still feel like it's flying under the radar. It's a beautiful experience with great soundtrack, and the gameplay is just deeply satisfying. Plus, the platinum is very doable. Next up is the hardest platinum I obtained this year. The second I heard that final trophy pop, I knew exactly which game was taking the spot. And that game is Celeste. It easily has some of the most difficult platforming you will ever do for a trophy. It took an immense amount of practice, patience, and thousands of deaths to get through it. It's safe to say this was the toughest hill I climbed all year. Now, we're moving on to the disgrace of the group. The platinum that probably took years off my life, and one I'd rather forget entirely. You might have predicted this one. The worst platinum goes to Borderlands 4. I almost gave this to Suicide Squad, but that one ridiculous trophy requiring to get every character to level 50 sealed this game's fate. It was hours of pure torture, doing the same repetitive tasks over and over. It just felt completely unnecessary. Finally, ending on a high note, we have the best platinum. This is the game where I enjoyed every single moment, and the trophy hunt felt like pure fun from start to finish. The award goes to Clair Obscur Expedition 33. This should come as no surprise given the praise this game has received since launch. But it was actually a closer race than you'd think. I almost gave this to Ghosts of Yōtei, but Expedition 33 squeaked by because I never once got bored of playing it. It's as simple as that. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, check this video out right here where I go over every single platinum trophy I earned in 2024.